So my name's Sam. Tell you a bit about myself. I come from a big family, and I love my family, I do, but there's always one member of your family you don't get on with. With me, it's my nephew. I'm not proud of it. I just don't like the guy. He's selfish, he's obnoxious, he's aggressive, he's sometimes violent. We're all supposed to love him just because he's only 2. Massive head, little body. Is that normal? My sister says, bond with him, play with him. I don't want to play with him. I've got my own friends, and they don't smell of Weetabix and crayons. Massive head. It looks like a melon on a stick. Now, some of you laughing. That was nice. Most of you judging. I'm joking, obviously. But the thing is that 2-year-olds are not always nice people, are they? We have to teach our children to be kind and thoughtful and considerate to others. And if we don't teach our children to be kind and thoughtful and considerate to others, then they grow up to be on The Apprentice. And no parent wants to face that kind of failure, do they? So one of the things I've enjoyed tonight is just seeing the poets, how brilliant they were. Let's give them that guy a round of applause. It's so good. And really impressed how you're not commercial at all. Or that's great. That's my kind of crowd. So anyway, I've got this show I'm promoting. It's at the Lowry on the 3rd of November. It's called Kindness, and it's the true story of how I gave up everything a few years ago to become a Buddhist monk. As you can see, it turned out really well. It's a true story. Before that, I used to work for Satan. He said his name was Gary, but we knew. And we worked for this big American corporate, and I was at the Manchester headquarters, and it was a very dog-eat-dog, macho kind of environment, very kind of stressful, and it really kind of stressed me out. Gary stressed me out, and I got to the point of burnout, and a colleague of mine said, look, why don't you try meditation? Go to a meditation class, it'll help you calm down. So I did. I went along to the Buddhist center, I did a meditation class, and it worked. Calmed me right down. It did something else as well. For the first time in my life, I stopped. I got off the hamster wheel and I looked around at the world and I looked at myself and I didn't like what I saw. When I looked at myself, what I saw was another white middle-class driven kind of young man chasing money and status. And when I looked at the world, this was just after 9/11 in the run-up to the Iraq War. The world was full of fear and paranoia, and I thought, what the world doesn't need is another person chasing money and status. The world needs empathy and kindness and connection. So I decided to change, and I did. I changed everything about my life. I changed the way I spoke to people, the way I ate, the way I dressed. I changed my diet. And some of the changes were a bit disconcerting for the people around me. So, for instance, I stopped having lunch with my colleagues at work, and I got into the habit of going out onto the streets of Manchester, sharing my lunch with the homeless. Which sounds good, but at the time I was a vegan. I'll be honest, the homeless weren't that bloody grateful. Turns out they wanted money for booze, not a tofu risole with an alfalfa garnish. To the point where big issue vendors are crossing the road to avoid me, But I tried, but my efforts weren't always appreciated, and at work, I kind of alienated my colleagues. I didn't kind of fit in anymore. Gary called me in for a one-to-one. I knew that wasn't good news, didn't bode well. Just to give you an idea of the kind of person Gary was. When he interviewed me for the job, one of the things he said to me was, so Sam, what kind of car do you drive? Sorry? What kind of car do you drive? Vauxhall Astra? A Vauxhall? When I was your age, you know what I was driving? No, slaves. He was a horrible man. So when I went in for this interview, I wasn't expecting it in the best, and he said to me, okay, Sam, you've changed, I don't like it, what's going on? I was like, well, I don't know, I'm kind of having a bit of a breakdown, my marriage is in trouble, my priorities are changing, the world's screwed, I don't know. And he said, well, what do you want? I said, well, I just want to be kind. And that was when he explained to me his policy for compassionate leave, which was, you want to be compassionate, leave. So I did, not entirely of my own accord. And the thing was, I was out of a job then, and I didn't have anywhere to stay. And I got talking to a mate in my meditation class, and he said, oh, you can come and stay with me for a while. And I said, great, where do you live? And he said, well, I live in the Buddhist community. I'm a trainee monk. I thought, that's not weird, okay. But I was desperate, so I went along. And it was brilliant. They were the most amazing, kind, patient, lovely people. And it was there that I met the man who would become my teacher, my guru, the Venerable Dharmachari Mahakashanti Raja. That wasn't his real name. Colin. Lovely fellow, welder from Oldham. And he explained to me, he said, look, there's a name for what you've been going through. There's a name for it. It's a spiritual awakening. A spiritual awakening. And I was so delighted to hear that, because my GP said I was having a nervous breakdown. No, spiritual awakening. And so I joined the Buddhist community. And if you want to know what happened after that, well, I think 10 or 12 pounds is really... So I'm doing that show, so that'll be nice. I'll be giving some flyers out later. It'd be lovely if you came. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the evening. It's fantastic. Just on the thing of children, I was just thinking about this when I was sitting there. They can be cruel, can't they? I was going up to the Edinburgh Fringe a couple of years ago, and I was on the train. And it was a few years ago now. And there's this little boy on the train. It was absolutely packed, and he said in a really loud voice in front of the whole carriage, "Mummy, why has that old man got a BlackBerry? Why has that old man got a BlackBerry? As if like old people shouldn't be allowed to have technology, you know." And I turned round to this old guy, and it was me. It was bloody me. I said, "You cheeky monkeys," and I'm only 45, and it's an iPhone, you prick. So yeah, thanks very much for having me, and I hope I'll see you all again. Enjoy the rest of your night. I'm Brady. Good night.